into the presentation. I think we're gonna get started here in just another minute or two. Cool. Okay. Um, Thank you all for joining. My name is Aaron Danowski. I'm a senior admission counselor at Gonzaga. I'm helping to moderate this panel for everyone here today on finding community at Gonzaga. We have a great list of panelists from all across student affairs who is going to be sharing with us a little bit about what it's like to kind of find community at Gonzaga and getting involved in a whole host of different areas. We're going to be introducing ourselves one by one as we go through this presentation, but we also are highly encouraging you to be posting your questions in the Q&A section at the bottom of your screens, and we are looking forward to just getting a bunch of really lively questions and conversation going here. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Nicola Manader, who is going to be our first presenter for the evening.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Aaron. Like Aaron said, my name is Nicola Manader. I'm the Director of New Student and Family Programs here at Gonzaga, and I've worked at Gonzaga. This is my 14th year, so super excited to be welcoming you all tonight. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what my office does. I think I get to go first in the webinar because we are some of the first folks to welcome you to campus. My office, New Student and Family Programs, runs programming for new students. So we do summer orientation and welcome weekend. We also do parent and family orientation and fall family weekend, amongst some other programs as well. So I want to talk to you a little bit about what to expect for orientation. We use a summer model of orientation at Gonzaga, which means that during July, folks come to campus in groups of about 200 for a 2-day campus experience. You live in the residence halls, you get a lot of opportunities to socialize and get to know your fellow students. Some of the highlights of that 2-day program that we hear from our students are their favorites are their small group meetings. So within that small group of about 200, you also get split up into a group of about 10. So you get to know more folks a little bit more closely. We also have sessions specifically with academic advisors, and these are folks who will explain to you the expectations for doing your studies at Gonzaga. So things like how many credits you should take, how to sign up for classes, how to view your schedule, why we have a core curriculum, and some of those other important things about being in the classroom and how to be successful in the classroom. We also have breakouts with faculty by major. So when you come for summer orientation, you also get an opportunity to meet with faculty in your major and hear a little bit more about what it's like to be in that particular major, as well as meet some peers who are in the same major as you. We do a really extensive tour of campus resources, so you have an opportunity not only to get out and about in campus, but also to meet staff and students who work in the different service offices around campus. Places like health and counseling services, places like our student involvement office. A lot of the folks you'll hear from tonight, you'll meet at summer orientation. We also have a lot of different programs during that summer orientation, just helping you learn how to be successful at GU, learning about our mission and history, learning about well-being and how to care for your full self, not just your academic self. And like I said, a lot of social and fun programs as well. And then, as I mentioned, after you come to summer orientation, we have what's called Welcome Weekend, which is the move-in weekend at Gonzaga. It's a really fun weekend where you have the opportunity to get settled in your room and reacquaint yourself not only with campus and our campus community, but also the Spokane community. And you'll have time to get settled and move into your residence hall. Basically, the first full day is a resource fair and just getting moved into your residence hall. And then after that, we have some really fun activities activities for folks to get reacquainted. Some of the most popular are our class photo, where we get everybody out on Mulligan Field and we take a photo of everybody in the class. We have opportunities for you to reconnect with your summer orientation folks. Welcome night in the kennel is probably the highlight of our welcome weekend, where you get to see some of our student performing groups and learn cheers and really feel that ZAG spirit. We also have academic convocation, which is kind of the kickoff to your academic experience, where you get introduced to the faculty and hear some of our faculty speak about what's important as an academic at Gonzaga. You'll meet with your assigned advisor during that welcome weekend as well. And also during welcome weekend, we have our parent and family orientation, which is a 2-day program. It's actually a 3-day program, which runs parallel to welcome weekend programming. Next slide, please. And then finally, I do want to talk just really briefly, we have some extended orientation programs. So these are programs that take place in between those July sessions and that August welcome weekend. If you're interested in spending even more time with your soon-to-be campus mates, we have 3 different programs that are offered. BRIDGE stands for Building Relationships in Diverse Gonzaga Environments. This is a social justice leadership program that I know my colleague Jesse will talk about a little bit more later in the webinar. We have Gonzaga Out of Bounds, which is one of our popular outdoor leadership programs. And we have Embark, which is a faith-based retreat. And registration for these will open in late May. And so if you do choose to come to Gonzaga, you'll hear a lot more about them then. I think that's it for me. Thanks, Aaron.
Awesome. Thank you, Nicola. Next, we have Jesse Mancia, who's going to be talking to us about the Unity Multicultural Education Center.
Hello, everybody. My name is Jesse Mancia, and I'm the director for the Unity Multicultural Education Center, and I use he, him, his pronouns. So who do we serve and what do we do? Well, the UMEC, or Unity Multicultural Education Center, we work to provide a safe space, a brave space, and support system for historically underrepresented and traditionally marginalized students. We outreach and educate students in their social identity development, cultural fluency, and connect in social justice. Really, in all is we're trying to build community with our students, with our BIPOC community here at Gonzaga. We have 3 different areas that we focus on. As my colleague, excuse me, Nicola had just mentioned, Bridge is one of those programs that we do provide, and that's falling within the mentoring area. We also provide and advise 2 different scholarship programs. One is the Act 6 program, and then the Unity Scholars. The Unity Scholars is a new program that is coming out this academic year. So please take a look in terms of the applications if you fall within the criteria for you to apply. Within the Bridge program, we were able to come in right before one of the sessions, so the last session in August for the orientation, where you're going to be able to build a community with anywhere between 40 to 60 students that more or less fall within the identities of marginalized communities that I mentioned earlier. But we provide different resources, connect you, and you're able to build that community before most of the students are able to come in onto campus. Another area that we focus on is social justice programming. This can vary in terms from different areas such as art and activism. We have a MLK teach-in where we work with the community of a Center for Community Engagement with, I believe, my colleague Phoebe will be communicating and letting you know a little bit more about. We also have a great turnout and opportunity for you to hear our students' voices in diversity monologues, and other opportunities in terms that we're able to provide. And if there's any program that you're looking for, obviously you can definitely connect with us and we can build on that. We also work with the intercultural development, where we hire 6 social justice peer educators, and we work in collaboration with the residential hall, and as they definitely go ahead and work, and my colleague Dory within the residence hall will be able to provide a little bit more details in terms of how they work with the RAs. But they provide more or less just an opportunity for students to really engage in that dialogue as peers. And they also provide and help connect with GSBA in creating and involving within the Courageous Conversations, as my colleague Dave Gilbert can allude to a little bit more as well. But we also have intergroup dialogue. In one of the orientation sessions, you'll actually be introduced to the intergroup dialogue as we provide a session there. And then if you participate in Bridge, you'll also be in a course with these students, with the students that will have a COM 100, which is a core class for you that will include intergroup dialogue into the course. Next slide. We work quite in collaborative with the Unity Alliance for Cultural Clubs. UMAC doesn't necessarily fall within the umbrella and completely guide them, but just because students do come into UMAC and utilize the space, these are just a list. This isn't necessarily a comprehensive list of student organizations or cultural clubs. This is just rather just showcasing of the different ones that are available for you. If there isn't one in terms that you're looking for, you can obviously work and create and develop one yourself. We also hire students, as you can see on the other area over here, within UMEC. So we have about 10 peer leaders. We also have bridge coordinators and mentors. So the bridge mentors are able to come in and help you out through that program and throughout the academic year. We also hire, as mentioned, 6 peer educators, and then we also have several graduate interns that do come in depending on their area. And I think that's all for me. So, Pam?
Yeah, thank you so much, Jesse. We really appreciate it. I know Pam was having a little bit of difficulty accessing the webinar earlier, so I'm going to go ahead and just give a quick overview of her slides, and we'll make sure that she's able to kind of add any additional information that she's able to add later. But Pam helps to run the Transfer Veteran Returning Adult and First Generation office on campus. So we have a lot of support services that we aim to offer to make sure that our non-traditional students, as well as students who do not have as much kind of familial support or familial understanding with the college process, are able to navigate our experience in a really effective and also intentional way. There is a physical location in our Hemmingson Center. It's actually adjacent to our the Unity Multicultural Education Center that Jesse helps run. And there are semester programming and events and activities happening. I know even this week we have it's transfer week on campus. So there are students from this office who are tabling in the Hemmingson Center. And we just really do a good job of making sure that students who may not be traditionally represented or as the average college student are in fact actually getting represented and have intentional support, have intentional space where they can gather, and have really intentional events and programming that are specifically catered to them to make sure that we are able to accommodate everyone. That's a really big value that we hold dear here on campus at Gonzaga, is making sure everybody feels welcome and represented in our community. Next, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Dave Gilbert, who is going to be talking about the Center for Student Involvement. Dave.
Yeah, thanks, Aaron. My name is Dave Gilbert. I'm the director for the Center for Student Involvement. Like Nicola, I've worked here for many years now, and before that, I was a student. So I've been coming to Gonzaga most days for about 23 years now, believe it or not. Hopefully have some experience to talk about. One of the things I wanted to touch on as part of my section of this is sort of why we think this stuff is important. Some of this will be intuitive for you, and some of it maybe not. And so it's important to share it and give this little perspective on why we like y'all to be involved and to find a community here on campus. Students who are involved actually tend to have higher GPAs. Can be a little bit counterintuitive because there's a feeling like it may take time away from schoolwork. But the reality is that it helps people be connected to campus and to be involved and to sort of, stay focused and do well. It's actually an indicator of students that get higher grades generally. People tend to have more friends. They report a better sense of belonging and connections on campus. And then there's a lot of sort of these like leadership skills and opportunities to have this experiential learning. So get leadership skills, get conflict management skills, planning skills, time organization, all those kinds of things. They're more likely to graduate on time. They report a better overall college experience. And Whether this is important to you all at this stage or not, we love that people tend to stay more involved as alumni if they're involved on campus. Some of the activities and sort of areas that student involvement works on here on campus. We have 118 active clubs, and they range really widely. Jesse touched on some of them from the sort of cultural clubs and student unions. But we have academic honor societies, awareness and political clubs, some career and professional clubs, and that can include some sort of honor societies. Lots of community outreach, volunteer things, sports things, cultural, some performance and art things. So lots of different ways to get involved. And also, if there is a club that you want to create that doesn't exist, we have 3 club recognition cycles every year, and we get new clubs every year. So some fade out as their popularity declines, and they're always replaced by new exciting clubs. There's a special shout out here to the Kennel Club. That's our official sort of student booster club. It's run by students. It's the largest club on campus, and they're very involved. Club sports, most of our varsity sports have a club sport partner. And so we have 8 recreational club sports. Those are non-competitive teams that do things like spike ball or skiing or climbing. Then we have 14 competitive club sports. So that's more the traditional traveling teams that are kind of, heading to other universities and inviting other universities here with the goal of winning. And that's where most of those sort of traditional sports, team sports are. You want to go to the next slide? GSBA is our student body association. So it's kind of our student government here. There's about 60 students that are directly involved in that, and they're kind of broken up between the Senate that does a lot of the oversight, kind of helps do some visioning for the university and for the student body, makes recommendations for maybe some direction that the university ought to head in. And then they also control some of the money. So they get to fund programs and approve things in that way. And then the executive side are more students that are involved in providing activities on campus, doing some work to create change on campus. And they're mostly hired and paid positions. So the Senate and then the president, vice president, speaker of the Senate, and the treasurer are elected, and all the rest of them are hired and paid. So it's neat both ways to kind of get involved. We have a really vibrant student media department on campus. Lots of student, I think, in terms of total number, I think there's around 80 students that get involved in this. Some will write one article all year, and then of course some of them are running the newspaper. So we have the student newspaper. It's a weekly printed newspaper. We're in the process of going to about every other week, with the off weeks being published online. So we're kind of modernizing that program. We have a yearbook. It's very cool. It's a new design every single year. And then we have 3 journals that we release that are, more compact, and they're one sort of art and poetry, more creative writing. Charter is scholarship and opinion. So if a student does a particularly special research project or something like that, they can submit it to Charter. And then Our Voices is our journal of culture and diversity. So a lot of students talking about their experiences with their own culture, with other cultures, things studying abroad, things where they, things they've experienced maybe as a minority here on campus or in some other culture. So that's an opportunity for folks to share their perspectives on some of that aspect of campus and their life. Spike Nights is a program that's our weekend activities program, Friday and Saturday nights. Every Friday and Saturday night, there's something going on. We take a real activities model for this. So other campuses might do things like bring a magician or a comedian, things like that. We do that occasionally, but we're really focused on things that students can come and do. So you see here on the screen, we've got a Nerf war one night. We'll do a movie night. We have a bowling night. Most of these are on campus, but occasionally we'll go off campus. And then also, I didn't mention this, but the Student Body Association is also doing events a lot of weekends where they're taking students predominantly off campus for that program. All of these are free, or included is maybe more accurate. And so you can come out and participate in their stuff every single weekend. Thanks so much for the opportunity to talk to y'all, and hopefully you have some questions maybe I can answer at the end, but thanks.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dave. We really appreciate it. Next up is Phoebe talking about the Center for Community Engagement. Phoebe.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for spending time with us tonight. I'm Phoebe Osterheis. I'm the Assistant Director for Operations at the Center for Community Engagement. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about what we do. So here on the slide, it says that we provide experiences that allow students to hone their intellectual, physical, spiritual, and emotional gifts in service for the common good. That's a fancy way of saying that we get students involved and engaged with the Spokane community. Students who get involved here with us volunteer their time with local community partners and through our in-house co-curricular programs. And they have fun. They learn about themselves, they learn about the world around them. And through the shared experience of getting engaged in the community and learning about Spokane, they build meaningful and long-lasting relationships with fellow Zags. And you can go ahead and advance. So here's just some statistics about us. We offer 21 different service programs. Lots of different focus areas. We have several youth programs that pair GU students with youth from the Spokane school system. We have immersion programs that take a cohort model. So you travel with a group of fellow Zags to a different location in the US to dive deep into a particular issue area or some advocacy work. We have GUSR, which pairs, it stands for Gonzaga University Specialized Recreation, which pairs GU students with adults from the Spokane community who have developmental disabilities. And the focus of that program is building relationships and breaking down stigmas. The ZAG Volunteer Corps is another cohort program. So you work together with a group of ZAGs throughout a semester or an academic year, serving at a local nonprofit. And then we have advocacy programs as well. Jesse touched on this earlier. We have the Martin Luther King Jr. Teach-In, which is an event that brings in Spokane community members and our Gonzaga community to learn about social justice issues. We have the IFTJ program, which is the Ignatian Family Teach-In for Justice, which takes place in Washington, D.C. It's coming up here in a few weeks. We send students to do some advocacy work and then meeting with legislators in D.C. And then we also have opportunities for advocacy work in the Spokane community. We have about 80 student leaders. So through our programs, students have the opportunity to build those leadership skills that Dave was touching on and to mentor other ZAGs. We support 104 sections of community engaged learning courses. Community engaged learning is where faculty members embed volunteer work within their curriculum so that students can have a real world perspective, and they can bring that real world perspective into the work that they're doing in the classroom. And we also have paid opportunities. So we have about 40 student employees that have all different focuses. Some of our summer staff get paired with local nonprofits to work there. We have the Wolf Fellows program where students are paired with local nonprofits during the academic year to do project-based work. And we have had some students do some really cool projects that are being used in Spokane now through that program. And then we also have just our year-round staff where students support us in the office and they do marketing work, they support community engaged learning, all kinds of opportunities there. And through all of that, so last year we had about 2,400 student volunteers complete 56,000 hours of service. And you can go ahead and advance. So just to give you a little taste of what we do, we're just going to show a quick video.
CCE to me is a place where people from different identities and different groups can come together in a space that's like welcoming to everyone.
CCE has programs that are thoughtfully crafted for ZAGs to learn how to be active members and participants of a community outside of campus.
We're able to take what we're learning in the classroom out into the community, and I think it's really important because it's a constant process of learning, action, reflection, and I think it's a really good way to learn more about yourself, learn more about your community, and to build a lot of skills like relationship building, leadership, teamwork.
It's developed me in a holistic way that I don't think just school or something else would have done without CCE being there for me.
It really laid the foundation for me and helped cultivate a lot of skills that I use both professionally and in my personal life. The programs within CCE has taught me adaptability, compassion, tenacity, courage, all of these things that I use every day working with our community in Spokane.
Definitely utilize CCE. It's there to support you, to guide you, to grow as a leader, and to grow in your understanding of your community. CCE has really transformed my experience at Gonzaga, and I think it can really help transform yours as well.
Thank you so much, Phoebe. I really appreciate it. Next up, I think Janine is the one who we have here. Is Janine on? Isn't, I'm going to go ahead and talk again a little bit more about what mission and ministry is all about. The Office of Mission and Ministry is a physical space on campus that is intended to foster faith and spiritual community. And so there's a really intentional emphasis on making sure that students are able to get involved in retreats, getting plugged into different small group programs. There are different religious leaders on campus that are organized through the Unity or through the Office of Mission and Ministry to be able to support students very intentionally day in and day out. So in addition to offering spiritual and pastoral care, there is also very intentional service and action that's taking place through the UMIN office. A lot of the retreat programs that are offered through the university will intentionally go out into the community. For example, when I was a student at Gonzaga, we did the pilgrimage that we walked 12 miles in northern Idaho, and we wrap up at the Cataldo Mission. And there's a really intentional emphasis on thinking about, yes, we're connecting in a community as we're walking, but we're also reflecting inwardly and enjoying the benefits of being out in nature and seeing the benefits of service and action in tandem as we're moving through these retreats together. Overall, the goal of mission and ministry is to help students become reflective and discerning leaders. So there's fun activities, there's great events and programming that happens all throughout the year. But really fundamentally, the mission and ministry office is there to make sure that students are getting the fullness of a Jesuit education, that we're offering an education for the mind, the body, and the spirit, and that students are able to engage with that on their terms, whether they are Catholic, whether they are Christian, whether they're Muslim, Jewish, falling somewhere in between, or not having a faith at all, but are curious, want to be engaging, want to be learning, want to be growing. These programs are open to anybody, and we think it's a really big part of what makes a lot of students' experience at Gonzaga so special. So with that, I will turn it over to Claire. She is going to be talking about our International Student and Scholar Services. Claire.
Everybody, my name is Claire LaPolman, and I am the Assistant Director of our International Student and Scholar Services team. If we want to hit that next slide. Thanks. So the International Student Scholar Services team, we support international students on campus. So if you are a global ZAC from somewhere else across the globe, our office is the place for you. We support students that hold both F and J visas. So we help them with understanding their documents and understanding all of the regulations that their visas require that allow them to come to Gonzaga for their education. Currently at Gonzaga, we have around 415 international students enrolled, and we have over 49 countries represented in our student body. So it makes being a global ZAG a very interesting and a diverse experience at Gonzaga. Thanks, Erin. So we strive to create a home away from home for all of our international students and scholars that arrive on campus. We organize programming for these students. We also partner with other offices and hold big annual events that are important to the students that we serve. So most recently, we had our Mid-Autumn Festival that celebrated a lot of Asian countries. We have our International Education Week that's every year annually. So we're always hosting opportunities for students to engage with the world outside of what they know and think in a more global context. So we're always inviting domestic students as well as international students into our space to enjoy that learning. We primarily serve our international students as far as helping connect them with various supports on campus. So if you're an international student and you're wondering where to get started, you can always come and visit me, and I'm always happy to help you get the support that you need. So if you are interested in learning about other places throughout the globe and connecting with international students on campus, come visit us at the Center for Global Engagement.
Thank you so much, Claire. We really appreciate it. It's a big part of what makes campus so vibrant is having students from so many different places sharing their unique perspectives. And next, we're going to be moving on to talking about students from on campus going elsewhere to benefit from all the awesome programming and spaces around the world. So we're going to talk about study abroad.
Thank you. My name is Moira Rogers, and I'm the director of the Office of Study Abroad, and we're delighted to have you here with us today. And my puppy wants to speak too, apparently, right now. I'm so sorry. Next, please. So we wanted to tell you some of the basics of studying abroad. So we work very closely with your academic advisors to make sure that your study abroad experience fits in with what you do. We welcome freshman students, and in most of our programs, you receive direct GU credit. We offer you financial aid and a lot of resources to make it happen. Next, please. As you probably know, our signature program is Gonzaga in Florence, and the program is turning 60 years old this year, so we have a big celebration. And we offer programs in the fall, spring, and summer, or you can go for a full academic year. Most majors, we have a few hiccups here and there, have courses that fit their needs. And of course, you can take any courses in art history, in a variety of other areas that will meet your core requirement. So we are always excited to create more opportunities for cultural immersion, for community engagement, as you heard before, and for ways of connecting with each other too. So it's a great way as well of building community. And I'm trying to move here. Oh yeah. I cannot see my slides. Okay. All right. Yeah. So as you probably know, during the pandemic, we had to stop some of our programming, but we're not almost back to normal. And even though not all programs have resumed for various reasons, we have a website that has extensive details about what is possible. Maybe one of the things that I wanted to make sure you know is that Florence is not the only option. We sometimes have students who say, I don't want to go to Florence. I want to go to Latin America. I want to go to Africa. I want to study in areas that are not best in Florence. So we offer programs in more than 50 locations, and we're currently looking also at building programs that will cost less and provide you more. So we would be thrilled to welcome you at Gonzaga and talk about your interests and needs very early on so that we can make sure that it fits into your full career plan. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Moira. Last but certainly not least, we have Dory, who's going to be talking about housing and residence life. And I will note, for any of you who have not yet been putting questions in the Q&A section, be sure to be doing those. We will be addressing those afterwards during our Q&A section, and we're looking forward to it. Dory, go ahead.
Thanks so much.
Hi, everyone. My name is Dori Veron, and I'm one of the assistant directors in housing and residence life here at Gonzaga University. I primarily oversee our first year residence halls, so I'm really excited to be speaking with you all today. So part of what makes the housing and residence life experience so great and feeds into your experience of being a part of the residential community is our team, both our professional staff and the 120 plus student staff members that we have. So for our professional staff team, we do have 2 graduate assistants, one focusing in leadership and programming and another focusing on peer mentorship, specifically with our living learning communities that I will touch on a little bit later. We have 8 live-in residence directors. These are professional staff members who actually live in the residence halls with students to offer in-moment support throughout the day, as well as we always have one residence director who is on duty 24/7 to support students. We have 2 live-on assistant directors, myself and my colleague Sierra Pancoast. We have a housing operations team. Those are the folks that you're likely speaking to learn more about the housing application process, when your application is due, any questions about amenities and facilities pieces. We also have a director of residence life overseeing the experiential pieces of living on campus, and an assistant dean of residence education that oversees both our housing operations team and our residence life team. As I mentioned, we have actually over 120 student staff members. First, we have our assistant residence directors. These are student leaders that have been with our department for at least a year, if not more, and they help actually co-supervise the rest of our student staff members. We have resident assistants. These are likely the folks that you're going to be interacting with the most. There's at least one resident assistant in every floor or wing, depending on the size of the building. And they are there to build community, address any concerns or issues that come up. For many folks, it's the first time they're living with a roommate. And so you have someone there who can support you through any potential conflict and proactively address anything that might come up through roommate agreements and such. And then they are also incredibly aware of all of the different services and resources on campus. So you've heard over the last 40 minutes or so about all of the services that are available to you as a potential Gonzaga student, and your RAs will know exactly where to send you. We also have peer mentors. These are students that are sort of like tutors within first year seminars associated with living learning communities, but they are there to work with students on the depth of their knowledge rather than the breadth of their knowledge. So it is kind of folks that are there to help you learn how to learn and how to practice deep thinking. We also have a Residence Hall Association, that's RHA Executive Board members. These are students who, much like a student government association body, are a student government specifically for the residence halls. They both do programming and advocacy work. As Jesse mentioned earlier this evening, we also have social justice peer educators. These are students who are experts as it pertains to social justice issues, both as educators in engaging and exposing students to social justice issues they may not have experienced or have knowledge of before, but also to respond and support students through any difficult situations that may arise. They also offer training specifically to other student staff members as well. And then we have student ministers, very similarly to our social justice peer educators. They are essentially student staff members that have an expertise in one particular area. And so in their case, it is in mission and ministry. They are there to support students who are seeking out an additional resource or are just looking for an additional presence on campus. Helping them connect maybe to retreats or other forms of community building opportunities beyond the residence hall as well. One of the things that we believe in housing and residence life that it is that out of good relationships great communities. And so everything that we do in the residence hall is focused on creating relationships. We talk a lot about collision points. What are the collision points that students can meet a new friend, can have a new experience, learn something that they didn't know before? And so we aim to kind of transform that experience from theoretical into actual experiential opportunities. We emphasize safe, inclusive, and dynamic communities. That means that students are both challenged in a brave and safe space. They are included no matter what identities that they're bringing into the community, or any interests and other needs that they may have. And it's also dynamic. There's always something going on. There's opportunities for holistic development. So we've talked a lot about the Jesuit identity of Gonzaga. So mind, body, spirit, personal and professional. There's always something going on, and we're aiming to grow you and your specifically you as a student and as a person. There's opportunities for social engagement. We focus primarily on belonging, so finding your group on campus, and then experiential learning, specifically as it relates to our living learning communities. Living learning communities are essentially themed housing options. Students are encouraged to apply for living learning communities if one of these themes speaks to what kind of community they're looking to engage in. There is great community across campus, but if you're looking, for example, to be with like-minded students who are interested in growing as leaders, then maybe Learns to Lead is the community for you. If you're specifically interested in participating in outdoor excursions, potentially if you want to participate in the GOOB orientation or pre-orientation program, maybe Outdoor Pursuits is the right LLC for you. And then we also have LLCs specifically for students in particular academic areas for additional support, specifically engineering and computer science and pre-health. And then all honor students are in a living learning community together unless they choose to opt out. And the benefits of an LLC is some additional support from peer mentors, as I previously mentioned, as well as they're linked specifically to first year seminars, which is a required first year course, and campus partners. So it's a truly integrated experience where it's connecting educational and academic components with your living experience. Some important dates that we always encourage folks to include on their calendars. The housing application is available immediately after students are admitted. So you do not need to wait to complete that housing application. You can fill it out immediately should you be admitted to Gonzaga. No deposit is necessary, and housing selection is based on when applications are submitted. So that means if you are not sure that Gonzaga is the right fit for you, maybe you're weighing your options, you can still submit the housing application at no cost and have a better opportunity to pick the housing that you're looking for come May when actual room selection opens. There are two LLC due dates. The first is April 1st. That is a priority deadline. The second is May 1st. May 1st is also when the housing application is 100% absolutely due, and roommate matching opens on May 6th. These are standard dates that will continue likely for many, many years. And so you're welcome to hold on to those for this upcoming spring. And one more thing to note is that we do have a 2-year live-on requirement. All of our first-year students and second-year students live on campus with us unless they have previous housing experience as a transfer student. And the reason for this is much like Dave said earlier, folks who live on campus are seen to show good student success marks, whether it be from grades to retention, involvement, so on and so forth. And so as we're speaking about finding and participating in community, that live-on experience is a huge part of that.
All right. Thank you so much, Dory. And for all of our presenters this tonight, we covered a lot of ground. I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Becky, who is also in the Office of Admission, who has been answering questions in the Q&A and who will be posing questions to our panelists for the next few minutes. So if you have questions you've been holding on to, be sure to put those in there. But I'll turn it over to you, Becky.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, thank you for the great questions throughout. Please feel free to keep using that Q&A function. This question I'm going to pose to Nicola first and then Dory. There's kind of two elements to it. The first part of this question is, what are the activities like before school starts? So Nicola, I know you talked about orientation already. I don't know if you want to maybe touch on welcome weekend. And then the second part of that is, how do residence hall staff build community? Dory, I know you already touched on that, but if there's anything else you want to add.
Yeah, thanks, Becky. So prior to school starting, we do have those summer orientation sessions, which take place in July. But then all of our first-year students do return to campus. The 4 days prior to classes starting are called Welcome Weekend. And there's all kinds of social activities. The first day is really focused on residence hall move-in. And Dory can speak more to that. But we also have lots of different resource fairs. We have academic advisor meetings, and there's a lot of social activities taking place in the evenings. We have a keynote speaker usually, and just opportunities for you to reconnect with the campus and with your new classmates.
Yeah, and something I'll add about move-in for incoming students is that we have a huge volunteer base that is available during Welcome Weekend and specifically on move-in days to help you carry your heavy refrigerators into your hall, maybe help you carry some drawers and other items in. So that always makes move-in day as easy as possible for students and families, which is really our goal going in. And you are immediately going to meet your resident assistant and the staff members that work in your hall, probably within the first hour or two of moving in. And if not, definitely by the end of your first day here at Gonzaga, because there are folks that are going to be a really big resource to you. Throughout the year, there are programs that are hosted specifically in the residence halls, more of a belonging and experiential opportunities being brought to you as well. We also have things that are called relationship builders that are less formal programming opportunities. It could be your RA coming out into the lounge of your hall and saying, hey, I'm going to throw on a movie. Do you want to watch the movie with me? So there's both formal and informal opportunities to participate and belong in community. And then if the programming and the relationship builders just really aren't for you, or you're finding community elsewhere on campus, our RAs also do social rounds just to check in and potentially help you connect outside of the residence hall as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Dory.
I was going to say, I saw there was a question about the first day of school. So we generally start school, it's like the last Tuesday of August. So this coming year, it will be August 22nd. So that welcome weekend will be the 23rd through the 26th. So that move-in day is August 23rd.
Perfect. Thanks, Nicola. Dory, most of these questions are for you. So I'll list them out. If you need me to repeat them, please let me know. This person's wondering about first-year roommates and if they're randomly assigned or if there is a way for students to meet each other and choose their roommate. And then they're also wondering if most students remain in the same dorm their second years, or do they tend to move to different residence halls their second year?
Yeah, great questions. So the answer to the first question is both. There are opportunities to connect with fellow incoming students to find a potential roommate. A lot of folks do that on social media, but we do also encourage folks to connect through what is called ZAG Living. It's how students apply for housing. There's also a quick personality assessment. Basically, are you a night owl or do you like to wake up early? What kind of a living space are you looking for? Are you maybe a little bit messy, or does everything have a place in your room? And by doing that and going through ZAG Living, you're able to match living styles with a potential roommate, which is super important. Folks are usually looking for like, oh, this person could be a really good friend. Let me potentially room with them. Sometimes your roommate doesn't need to be the best friend that you make on campus. We find that folks are a lot more successful when their living styles match up, maybe rather than interests and things like that. Most of our students do not come in with a roommate. We offer that opportunity, and that is something that some folks can sometimes have nerves about. But if you don't find a roommate and match with them ahead of the selection process, you can be not necessarily randomly assigned, but you will see, for example, there's an open bed in this room, there's someone already in there. You will be able to see who that person is and what your percentage match is, for example. The only time you would be randomly assigned is if you did not fill out the housing application in time, then you would be randomly assigned. Following that, we do something called room swap and shop over the summer, so that if something isn't lining up, you're not in the residence hall you were hoping for, maybe you found a roommate you're interested in living with a little bit later on, you do have the opportunity to swap rooms over the summer in advance of moving in August. The second question, I believe, was whether or not students retain the same hall into their second year. Students do not stay in the same hall. I mean, unless they're potentially moving into a student staff role and they're going to be an RA in that building. But all of our first year students are in traditional halls, meaning it's usually 2 people to a room with a common bathroom and lounge setup. All of our sophomore students are either in suite styles with a shared bathroom, usually between 4 and 6 people, depending on the particular building, or apartment styles. And then all of those have also a small, like common room between a few different rooms. So you will not be in, very likely you won't be in the same room or same building that you were in first year to second year, again, unless you're returning as an RA.
Perfect. Dory, there was another question about cooking on campus. Like could a student cook, things for themselves if they wanted to? I don't know if you want to touch on like kitchens and residence halls, things like that.
Absolutely. All of our residence halls have at least 1 kitchen. Again, depending on the size of the hall, it could have more than 1 kitchen. We currently have some buildings that are about 40 people. So on the small size side, they only have 1 kitchen. In another residence hall that's 280 people, that one has 4 kitchens. So it really varies on the size of the building, but they are fully equipped, refrigerator, stove, oven, microwaves. Some of our lounges also have additional microwaves. So I've never seen or heard of students experiencing a time where they didn't have access to be able to cook or bake, whatever they're looking to do on their own.
Perfect. Thanks so much. Yes, speaking from personal experience, I'm a big baker. I baked a lot when I was living in the dorms at Gonzaga. So plenty of space for that. I think this question is probably best directed at Dave, but you can also correct me if we might need to reach out to a different campus partner about this. But the person's wondering if there's an esports team or club.
Yeah, we have a few gaming clubs on campus. So one of the most competitive is, they call themselves the Smash Bros Club, but they actually compete in a few different virtual fighting games and a few other games on top of that. And then there's another sort of broader, just like I have gamer club. And then slightly further afield, there's a Dungeons and Dragons club and a board games club. All of those clubs actually are in the process. This is like hot. This is insider stuff right here. Are actually in the process of kind of creating like a gaming council, so that some of those clubs can meet and collaborate on some things, including possibly developing a space on campus. Really fun, but yeah, pretty involved, particularly the Smash Bros Club, again, which goes beyond just that one game. Real active, and they travel, so they'll go to other universities and compete, and they host a couple tournaments here. My favorite one, the Wazoo tournament, is called Beak Bonk for some reason, but that's a fun name. So yeah, that culture's around.
Awesome, thank you. Dory, we got this question. I'm guessing this is about, I know you've touched a lot on roommate and matching and all that. I'm guessing this question is about like if a student enrolls and they already know someone that they want to room with, or say they like meet on social media, are students able to just pick their own roommate?
Yes, absolutely. You, starting May 6th, so long as you submitted your housing application by May 1st, you will have the opportunity to create a roommate group, and that could have been meeting your roommate in a variety of ways, through Zag Living, not through Zag Living, knowing them from high school, things like that. You'll be able to connect in a roommate group and then select a room together.
Awesome, thank you. That's as many questions as I see. We'll give it like 30 more seconds if someone wants to put something in. Oh yeah, Dave, go for it.
While folks are thinking of the next question, I want to plug one other program that didn't get to come tonight. So Gonzaga Outdoors is also here on campus. They're real involved. They have both lots of things you can go and participate in, and they also have a fairly large staff of student volunteers and staff, so you can get involved both as a participant and as a leader. They run trips every weekend during the school year, and they range from hiking and backpacking camping to some climbing, some biking, and then in the winter there's some snowshoeing, skiing, and snowboarding. Lots of stuff, some water sports, some kayaking and rafting opportunities. So lots of stuff. It's one of the things for folks that maybe aren't from this region. It is one of the things that we have a lot of around here, and it's a great opportunity to either get deeper into hobbies that you already have or try some things that are new. Those activities are pretty well subsidized and typically fairly affordable. It's a cool opportunity to do some things that if you don't have gear for can be a little bit prohibitive, or even just space-wise and things on campus. So it's a really cool other opportunity. Zooming out from that program a little bit, there's also just lots of outdoor rec things in the region broadly. So we have the Ski and Snowboard Club is the second largest club on campus. There's a mountain biking club. There's a climbing club. There's a couple of different hiking clubs, including a women's specific one. So lots of fun activities for that. We have 7 ski resorts that are within a day's, that are reasonable to go and to drive there and ski for the day and drive home. So lots of stuff like that.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that. It's a very, very popular program at Gonzaga. Nicola, I'm sure you probably see this question, but just asking about summer orientation. I also saw a question earlier, basically just if a student can't make it in July, they're traveling or they have a job or something, is there basically another option for them to do orientation a little bit later?
Yeah, so it is an expectation that all new students attend orientation, and we offer 5 different sessions during July. So most folks are able to make it work. But if you aren't, we do offer a 6th session, and we're still kind of figuring out whether that session will be held right before welcome weekend or if it'll be held virtually, based on some feedback we got this past year. But there is that option. You just have to contact, and when you get to that part of the process, you'll contact our office directly to get registered for that session.
Perfect, thank you. Dory, we have a question about service dog. This one is a dog in particular, but service animals. If they had a service animal, would they be paired with someone else if they had their animal in the room?
Not necessarily. I've actually never seen it where students with whether it be 2 students with ESAs or an ESA and a service animal, whatever it may be, actually getting paired together. Students with ESAs and service animals still go through the normal housing process. They actually, if you have an accommodation specifically for your animal, you would select with a group we just call special populations. So that includes folks with accommodations as well as like LLC students as well. And so you would be selecting from a certain set that met what your accommodations are. And then you would either have a roommate in mind, or if not, if someone's selected, you could just connect and let them know that you had an animal. We definitely encourage students to do that, especially when it comes to allergies and things like that. That can pop up, and then we would support if any shifting around needed to happen. But I have not seen it typically where students with or two students with animals are living together. It's not usual.
Awesome, thank you. Nicola, this person's wondering if you have the orientation date set, or maybe a better question is, when will you put them on the website?
Yeah, so we are still waiting on final approval for our orientation dates, but generally speaking, they will run between about July 14th and July 26th. And they usually are kind of like a Sunday night to Tuesday morning, or Wednesday night to Friday morning kind of experience. And again, that we're still finalizing some of that, but we're hoping to have those dates finalized before the holidays.
Awesome, thank you. Dave, got two questions I'm going to let you answer. First one is there a swim club, a club swim team? And then, do students feel safe on campus? I'm only having you answer that because you said on here that you would answer it. So
Sure. Yeah, I'll take the easier one first. We have had swim clubs and swim teams come and go several times over the past years, because they're run by students. Students get together, that's something they want, they create it, and then they run with it for a while, and then maybe interest fades for whatever reason. The most recent iteration kind of faded during COVID. It does exist in the system still, so if you wanted to resurrect it, you could do it, and it wouldn't be too terribly much work. But what we do have right now, when swim team came back most recently, it came back as water polo. Not the same thing, but related. And if it's something that you're interested in, we do have that on campus, and a pretty active group right now. So we have that. And then if you wanted to create a swim team, that's something that we could definitely talk about doing. Typically, when students want to launch it, they get interest and they're able to do it. So something that could definitely happen. Actually, the polo team goes pretty hard. They broke a window in the fitness center last spring because they were like, getting after it. And they've since purchased a net to help prevent that. The other question is a really good question, and it makes me feel like we should go like another 20 minutes because we're getting into good, real, like living on campus, what's it like kind of questions. What I hear from students is that by and large, students do feel safe on campus. I wish I could take my little webcam out and show you out the window. It's night here, it's 7 o'clock. And there's a lot going on. There's a lot of students out and about walking around campus, coming and going from the library, from their evening classes, from their intramural field or the gym, all of that. However, there are places on campus, there's corners that feel creepy or feel separate a little bit. There's, if you're going to study in the library until midnight, there's always that element of feeling a little bit alone at certain times at certain places on campus. Typically, though, again, I think students do feel pretty safe, and I think people learn real quickly where those places are and what their strategies are for feeling okay, for feeling safe, and whether that's using their phone well, having groups and moving around in groups, things like that. The neighborhood that's immediately off of campus, again, I think, for the most part, certainly during the day, students feel safe and free to just sort of come and go and live their lives and not worry about it too much. But we do have some property crime off campus. We do get bikes stolen, things like that. So, and people do need to both. I think people get to just sort of live the way that they want to, but they also need to do common sense things and be smart, take care of themselves. So that's kind of, I guess, what I would say about it. There are also the realities of students from particular groups that do encounter, things with the population where they feel uncomfortable or isolated. And for those groups, we're always working to hear those stories, always working to create better, safer ways for them to move around campus. The Student Body Association actually last year did what they called a lighting audit and got in a golf cart at night and drove around campus and documented a bunch of dark spots, and then did that again with security and plant services. And they actually they put up a couple of lights, and they're in the process of putting up a couple more. So we are always sort of in the process of trying to make sure that campus feels as welcoming as much of the time as possible. Anybody want to add anything to that? That's sort of some facts as well as my perspective, but.
Yeah. So just to add, I actually live on campus. And so I am here basically 24/7. What I will add is, one, there's a lot of like proactive steps that students can take and that the university has taken to maintain that safety. The first that I'll mention is, like, for example, the residence halls are all locked. Only folks that are able to are supposed to be in the residence halls have access, and you have a ZAG card, your ID card that will get you into those spaces. It's the same thing for a lot of our just general campus buildings. They have, open and close hours where students and faculty, staff would need a card access to be able to enter those spaces. For the most part, campus is kept pretty lit. I will say, especially, there's a fields right behind our campus center called Mulligan that has basically floodlights on all of the time. And I say that because my apartment windows face it. And so I'm very aware of when the lights are and are not on. And so I have a dog. I take her on walks in the evenings as well, and have felt very safe on campus. And for folks who at any point don't feel safe or just want to mitigate risk, campus safety is always happy to bring students to and from places on campus, or potentially even a little bit off campus as well. And so I think within the first few weeks, students learn what their comfort level is on campus, pretty much specifically in the evening hours, and then take the steps to make sure that they feel safe and comfortable moving about. So.
Yeah, thanks, Tori. We got kind of a couple of questions, I think, from the answer to that question. So I'll just elaborate on it. So a question about like chaperone services, accompanying students as needed. We do have that with our campus security office. They do have those courtesy shuttles. So if a student ever doesn't feel safe, they can just call campus security and they'll come pick them up. We do have a blue light system on campus as well. So pretty common among universities in the US, but the idea being you can always see a blue light. There's a button on there. If you press it, campus security will be where you are, I believe, within 90 seconds or less. So pretty quickly. And then someone's asking about, do we have our own campus police force, or is it part of campus patrolled by Spokane Police? So we do have our campus security, but we are very close to the city of Spokane. So the kind of main Spokane Police precinct is actually pretty close to campus. So if they ever need to be involved, we have a great relationship with them, and they do respond as needed. But a lot of what happens on campus tends to be able to just be managed by our campus security office and public safety. They're a very great office. Anyone have anything they want to add to that?
Becky, I would just add, campus security did invest in an app called Rave Guardian a couple of years ago, and that was based on a recommendation from students. They worked with a group of leadership students to kind of put that together, and it's basically like having a blue light in your phone all the time. So no matter where you are, you can push a button and campus security will locate you. You can also do things like add friends that follow you. So, if I'm walking across campus to see Dory at her apartment, I can say, I can like message, or I can add Dory as like my friend on there, and I can say I'm leaving now. And so she knows if I'm not there in 7 minutes or whatever, I can put a timer on it that she needs to call for help, or she needs to call campus security, or it can automatically call campus security. So some really neat features on there, and that was actually led by a group of students.
Yeah, thanks for adding that. It was a really great app to have. I still have it on my phone as well. Perfect. I don't see any other questions, so I'll let Aaron wrap us up.
Yeah, first off, I just want to say thank you all so very much. I think all of our students who are here with us can probably agree. You can put it in the chat. This was super helpful and super impressive. Just the sheer range of information and talent and perspectives that we have for this short amount of time. I do want to wrap up with two quick things for students. So first off, this is not the only one. This is a part of a webinar series that we are hosting. The next webinar that we are hosting is happening on Thursday. I'm posting the link in the chat to that. That is our Learning About the Honors Program happening Thursday night. So you can register to sign up for that there. We also really encourage you, if this intrigued you, if you want to come and see what campus is like on your own. We really love for you guys to come up and visit us. There are virtual visit opportunities. There's a virtual tour as well that you can take if you haven't done that already. But gonzaga.edu/visit is where we direct students to go do that. This webinar will be posted online, so you can refer back to it if you have any further questions. But again, I really think I just want to wrap up by saying thank you all so very much for your time, for your expertise, for your care for students, and go Zags. We're so glad to be wrapping up here together. Thank you all so very much, and thank you all for students for taking the time out of your night.
Thanks, Aaron. Thanks, everybody.